Begin the current and final daf Masechta Megillah Daf Lamed Beis. Begin on the top line of the Amud, where we continue the discussion regarding machlekes and the conclusion, similarly lahalacha, regarding certain elements relating to Kriyas HaTorah. Shis corresponds to Bekazach and Echeskel to any type of daf Hashem and the journey to today's daf. Some is discussing today's daf are goyel mavarch, whether the oila closes the Torah before making the bracha, which there's different minhagim in that. Halucha is vabimis imem shem kedusha. The boards used to cover svarim and the platform used to read the Torah do not have any sanctity. Galila halachas regarding closing, rolling the Torah closed, including tzarch shemidena ala tefa, that you have to center the Torah scroll on the seam. You'll see people when they roll it between two sections of the parchment. Goyla mibachutz, that an individual reading the Torah on his lap rolls towards himself. Mahatke mibifnim, when he tightens it, he should do away from his body. Mutav tigal hamet pachas, one should wrap the cloth around the Torah, not roll the Torah inside the cloth, again for covenant Torah. And Haggadah Shabem Gillah Sefer, the greatest person in the tzibur rolls the Torah. Mishlamshin Babasko is permitted to follow the voice of a heavenly voice. And finally, Moshe Tikkum L'Yisor Shishol Madosh Midyon Shel Yom. Moshe Rabbeinu established that we should read and expound upon the topics of the Yom Tov on that day. So begin the current Daf Lamed Beis, top line on the Yom Tov. Turn about when the Brisa. Pesach v'Raya. So how does the actual Kriyas HaTorah do when you're getting an Aliyah? So Pesach v'Raya, you open up, you look inside, you see what the Kriya is going to be from. Gailul, you roll a mavarch and you make a bracha. Then you open it again and you read from it. That's the Rebbe. Yehuda, he says, no, Pesach you open it, V'Raya you see, U'Mevarech v'Kaira, and you'll notice that these two opinions is a machlekes, and different minhagim that people do, and you leave it open, you make the bracha and you read, and that's how the Kriyas HaTorah, that's how you get an aliyah. Says, my time to what's the reason of Meir that he says, as some people have the minhag, that you roll the clothes first, make the bracha, and then reopen it. Says, he says, why did they say Akar Bat Torah? Someone who's reading from the Torah, when he's getting the aliyah, so he reads the psukim, don't assist, in Talmudic times they used to have someone translate, don't assist him in the translation. Why? Because people shouldn't say, Targum Kasa Bat Torah. Must be that the Aramaic words are written in the Torah, because this guy who's reading from the Torah, he's saying some Aramaic words, so don't assist the translator because they're going to think that it's written in the Torah. Also, Hachanam here also, the same reason is Meir's opinion. You don't say the Birchas HaTorah with the Sefer Torah open, that people shouldn't say, I think the Birchas HaTorah written in the Torah. And that's an error because it's not supposed to be, and therefore you roll the clothes, that people should not make that mistake. Which again, that's where Rabbi Yehuda, he says, no, Targum make a limite. The Aramaic translation, people can make that mistake and say, Targum is written in the Torah, and they're going to come to write Targum in the Torah. But Bracha is like a limite. No one's going to make a mistake. Everyone knows that Bracha is not written in the Torah. And actually, that's where some have the meaning today, where they say everyone knows that it's not written in the Torah. So therefore, he holds that you can leave it open, and instead of closing and opening it, you just make the bracha with it open. Now, Amar B'Zeid Amar Masna, he says, the halacha is, Pesach v'Raya, you open it and you see, and you don't have to roll it closed. And you make the bracha and you say, and you make the Kriyas HaTorah, you read from the parasha. Says why didn't you say halacha Yehuda, which is the same question we had in the end of the previous daf? Says this is because some people switch around remain Rabbi Yehuda, so therefore we just said what the halacha is because you wouldn't know just from saying halacha Rabbi Yehuda. Another teaching from Amar B'Zeid Amar Masna says haluchais, which Rashi says I don't know what they are. He says some say that it's these boards that are made to cover the svarim, which are not made with like a scroll, so it's made like a cover, and the habimais, which they would make these platforms for the king by the Parshas HaMelech, like Gemara says, where he would lane from when they would do at the end of the Shemitah year, he would do Hakil. So it says Reb Zera that Ein Bem Mishum Kedusha. Those items don't have sanctity, which some Gemaras bring down that the gears of the Rush is that Kedusha's Oren doesn't have the sanctity of the Oren, but it has Kedusha's Beis HaKnesses. So it doesn't have such a high level of sanctity, but it would have some level of sanctity. Now, continuing on the theme regarding the Kriyas HaTorah and the rolling of the Torah, so I'm going to Shafat Yom Rabbi Yechon. It says Hagoyel Sefer Torah. Whoever does Galila, whoever rolls the Sefer Torah, Tzarach Shemiden Al Tfar, which we have Hagba and Galila are really part of the same procedure, and so he says whoever's closing the Sefer Torah, you have to make it on the stitches, which you'll see someone when he's rolling. You see the rolling goes to Nemta. He's trying to make that the stitches should be there in the middle so that you could do it tight and make it in a way that's not gonna tear it. And moreover, V'amr B'Shafat Yom Rabbi Yechon, and it says Hagoyel Sefer Torah. Someone rolls the Sefer Torah from one topic to another topic, and he's by himself, and the Sefer Torah is on his lap. So Goyel Mibachutz, he should roll it from the outside, meaning the the parchment that's beyond himself, he should roll that, and he should roll from outwards towards the inside. And you should not roll from within, because if you're going to hold on to the inner one and roll towards the outside, so then the part of the scroll that's on the outside is just going to fall off your lap and fall outward. So roll inwards and don't roll outwards. The Rabbi Chananel, that's actually going on the knot of when you're doing Galila, when you're tying the knot around the Sefer Torah, let's say with a gartel, so it's saying that the knot should be on the inside towards the writing and not on the outside, because if it's on the outside, and that's why you see when people do Galila, if you're going to open up the Sefer Torah, you're going to have to turn it upside down on the writing to open up the knot, and that's not respectable. So therefore, to the contrary, you have it on that's what it means, goyluloi, that when you should do it on the outside, means to say that his gersa actually is, it's going on the knot, and he's saying the knot should be on, I think what it means to say, I'm not sure if he has a different gersa or not, but he's saying that it's when you're tying the knot, it should be towards the writing and not on the outside. Interesting, to being some other minhagim that they had when they would do haitzah, they would say different psukim, Torah Hashem Tamima, Eitzah Hashem Nemona, and he also says, why do we say Gadlu? Because Gadlu has 6 words which correlate to the 6 steps that those who carried the Aron did, as it says in Shmuel Beis. So Ukushu Mahatke says the Gemara, when he finishes rolling the Torah and he's coming to tighten it, so Mahatke Mibifnim. So he should tighten it from the inside onto the outside, and he doesn't tighten it from the outside. So Rashi says so that he shouldn't be, if he's going to tighten it from the outside, which is again he's rolling towards himself. The other one was rolling, that's going to roll away. Here, if he's going to be covering the writing with his arms. And the mitzvah is, which is hard to understand what he's talking about, but you don't want to cover it with your arms, because the mitzvah is to show the letters to the people, as the Gemara says in Sefer, which we know that's what we do with Hagbah. So you don't want to do it in a way that your hands are going to be covering the words. So when you tighten it from the inside, not from the outside, because then you're going to be covering the words themselves. Another teaching from Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg is if you have 10 people that are doing Kriyas HaTorah, either 3 aliyahs or 7 aliyahs, whatever it is on Shabbos or during the weekday, but since the Kriyas HaTorah is not less than 10 people, so we're saying 10 people that had Kriyas HaTorah, but it means basically Kriyas HaTorah that we do with a minyan. So the greatest of them rolls the Sefer Torah, which many say it's Hagbah, and the Rebbes take Hagbah for themselves, because it's the greatest of them that does and Tais says why? Because it's honorable, and also because he should take Schar Keneged Kulam, as Rabbi Yeshua says, this teaching, that Hagoylai, whoever rolls it, Neitel Schar comes and want the Rebbe he takes reward of all of them. Rabbi Shloimy says, the have 10 people that have Kriyas HaTorah, Hagoylai Sefer Torah, whoever rolls it, it's like the Gemara, Kibbutz Schar Kulam, and gets the reward of them all. Which Gemara says, Schar Kulam, so I really think he takes all of their reward. Elamer rather say, no, Kibbutz Schar Keneged Kulam, he gets the equivalent of the reward, but it doesn't take everyone's reward by doing Hagbah. And again, a teaching from the same Rabbi Shvat and Rabbi Yechon. This is from where do we know that you utilize a heavenly voice, that if let's say he in his heart he wants to start something and he hears a voice, either yes or no, and he could go after that, and there's no problem about nichush, which is some type of a necromancy, like some type of witchcraft. You're not supposed to do these ominous signs. Then it's not a problem with that, because you can go with the baskol. Like it says the pasuk in Yeshaya. Pasuk says that vaznecha teshmana, in your ears you're going to hear dava macharecha lema, or something behind you saying that this is the path you should go in, and you could listen to that. Now, when we say this, the Shema called Gavin B'Masav, you heard the sound of a man in the city, or we call Itza B'Dabba, the sound of a woman in the outside of the city. Meaning to say it's a sound that's not so common. Where the men are usually out in the fields and the women are usually in the city. Obviously, it's a baskol that's coming to you if you hear a not common voice where you're having that thought and you're hearing yes. You're like, yes, oh my. As long as you're not hallucinating, but then you can go with this baskol. Now, like the Gemara said, this if it says yes, yes, if it says no, where it was double, then it's a sign for you to listen to that. Another teacher, from the same Amoira, called Ne'ima, whoever reads without sweetness, meaning, like for example, the Tameh HaMikra, where he doesn't go, it doesn't say it with the nigid, or he learns without a song, without singing when he's learning, which Taisa says because they used to learn Mishnayos with a song, because they would know it Baal Peh, but when you sing it in a song, then you remember it. If you don't do it with the song, the love of Aman, him the pasuk says in Sefer Yechezkel, "V'gamani nesatlam." I also gave to them, the Jewish people, chukim le'toivim v'gomer, statutes that are not good and judgments that they're not going to live with, because they're not machayim themselves with it. Meziknish v'malan, that's considered chukim le'toivim. It's like, oh, sorry, nachashir. Maskabla Abaya asked, what because he doesn't have a good voice, he doesn't know how to sing. So at the end of the pasuk says, "Mishpatim le'yichubim kadesbei." You make it, you read it that these are judgments that you don't live by. Ella, rather, because Rabbi Shloimy, rather he says a different interpretation. Like Rabbi Shloimy, it says Shnei Talmidei Chacham Yishim Be'achas. You have two Talmudic scholars that dwell in one city. They're not pleasant one to the other with their halacha. Then the pasuk saying, and to them I also gave them statutes that are not good, and judgments that they're not going to live with. Continuing regarding doing Hag Galila and regarding getting aliyahs, says whoever holds on to the Sefer Torah bare, meaning without the mantle around the Sefer Torah, nikfa arm, he's buried bare. So the Gemara says, you think to say that he's buried bare? What does that mean? Rather, no, nikfa arm b'lei mitzvahs. He's buried bare without any mitzvahs. So the Gemara says, b'lei mitzvahs. You think he loses all his mitzvahs by holding a Sefer Torah bare? No, rather, Baya says nikfa arm b'lei mitzvahs. He's buried without that mitzvah, which Taisus says some say means he doesn't have the mitzvah of holding onto the Sefer Torah. So it says that's difficult. What's the chiddush? Of course, not going to get it. He didn't do it the right way. So it means from the Rivah, it means without that mitzvah that he was doing at the same time that he was holding the Sefer Torah. If let's say he was holding the Sefer Torah and he was reading from the Torah, he won't get the schar of the kriya that he's doing at that time, or whatever mitzvah he's doing, because he was at that moment doing something wrong of holding the Sefer Torah on. Rabbi Yana is Saba, Yana the son of Rabbi Yana the elder, who b'shmid Rabbi Yana Rabba, the name of Rabbi Yana the great. So this was 3 generations of Yana, one regular, one elder, one great. Says mutav tigal hamit pachas. Better that you roll the mantle around the Sefer Torah, v'yigal Sefer Torah, that you don't roll the Sefer Torah inside the mantle. So you want to roll the thing around, gartel, but don't do the Sefer Torah inside the mantle. You want to have whatever it is that you're rolling it around, do that around the Sefer Torah, not the Sefer Torah from within. And the Gemara concludes with the Mishnah that said, "V'daba Moshe Me'adei Hashem al Bnei Yisrael." Moshe Rabbeinu spoke about the Yom Tovim of Hashem to the Jewish people, which our Mishnah said mitzvahs and sheikodenes and kol echad v'echad zman. The mitzvah is to read each one of them in the appropriate time. The Trambol in the Brisa, Moshe Tiklam Yisrael, Moshe Rabbeinu instituted with the Jewish people that they should ask and they should expound about. We're going to the topic of the day, Hachas Pesach Pesach, Lachas Pesach and Pesach, it says Hachas Shus and Shus, and Hachas Chag B'Chag, the Lachas of Sukkos on Sukkos. Now, why did they have to write over here Veidaber Moshe? Meaning the explanation is it says Veidaber Moshe. Well, you think all the mitzvahs Moshe Rabbeinu didn't tell the Jewish people? What's Veidaber Moshe's Me'ad Hashem of Bnei Yisrael? That's what it comes to teach us, that he spoke with them, the halachas of every mayid, on its time to let them know the mitzvahs of Hashem and all the Torahs, and that they should be Mekabel and the Mekayim, the Schar mitzvah on them, and on their children, Bezeh, Ubaba. Therefore, that's what it says, especially, Veidaber Moshe as Me'ad Hashem, and when they saw that on the Yom Tov, that's what they did. Hagnulach B'nei Ir, so I returned to the 4th parak, the second Megillah parak, B'nei Ir, which spoke about that of the members of the city, and it was Slikala Mesech Megillah. We have concluded Mesech Megillah with Siyad Shmaya. Thank you to any time for hosting this.